Confession time. I took something, and you may like to take it also. When I quit university and started my first service business at age 19, many people asked me, how did you do that? When I packed up all of my belongings and moved from cold old Sydney to warm sunny Queensland, people asked me, how did you do that? When I quit my night job waiting tables and started my first prestige retail business, many people asked me, how did you do that? When I was offered a highly lucrative position on more than double my previous income, plus a car and a laptop, people asked me, how did you do that? When I doubled my income in a year and then doubled it again the next year, and then doubled it again the next year, and then doubled it again, friends asked me, how did you do that? When I gave away $11,000 to charity and received a tax refund check back for $10,000, it was actually my own accountant who said, how did you do that? When I bought a 7-bedroom mansion in my 20s that backed onto a soccer field instead of looking at the neighbours, people asked me, how did you do that? And when I retired in my 30s and moved to the beach, many people asked me, how did you do that? When I built a new startup business from scratch in a new town with a $7,000 credit card, 0 contacts, 0 friends, and then sold it for 6 figures a few years later, people asked me, how did you do that? When I wrote my first book and it won an award, received hundreds of thousands of dollars in free publicity, and became a bestseller, people asked me, how'd you do that? When I was paid to travel the world, speak on stages, speak on radio and TV, many business people asked me, how'd you do that? When I wrote my second book and had it published in a few weeks rather than a few years, people asked me, how did you do that? When I hosted a live radio show in New York City every week for 2 years, interviewing major international stars, people asked me, how did you do that? Then when I produced my own weekly talk show on TV in Australia, interviewing some of the wisest and wealthiest people in the country, people asked me, how'd you do that? When I sold up everything, gave away everything, packed up all I owned into 2 bags and moved to a tropical island paradise in Bali, people asked me, how did you do that? The answer to all of the questions is the same. I took something. We're not talking about the Lance Armstrong, Ben Johnson, Arnold Schwarzenegger type of, I took something artificial. What I took was entirely natural. I took something good, and I advise maybe you'd like to take it also. Number 1, I took chances. Sometimes I failed, but I got back up. When a baby is walking towards you, it will fall, but if it keeps its eyes focused on its destination, it will get there eventually, no matter what. Persistence. Number 2, I took risks, often very big risks, make or break risks that could see me going bankrupt or becoming homeless if I failed, but risks with huge upside potential for a wonderful outcome or a dream life fulfilled when I succeeded. Number 3, I took advice, qualified advice from those who had done it or those who were busily doing it. You can get plenty of free advice from well-meaning friends, family, or colleagues who are only too happy to tell you what to do or what not to do or what to be afraid of or what to avoid. However, if these people are not doing what you want to do, then their free advice is essentially worthless. 1 million homebodies will tell you why you should never travel. 1 million fat chunks will tell you about how you may have a heart attack running on the gym treadmill. 1 million single people will give you relationship advice. 1 million never-beens will tell you why you can't succeed. Only seek qualified advice from those who are, those who have, or those who can. Number 4, I took initiative. Some of the people who I wanted advice from, I could not afford to pay for their advice. Some of these people were worth high-level 7, 8, 9 figures. They value their spare time and they charge lots of money for their time and their advice. When I could not afford to pay them, I would find out what they wanted most and how I could get it for them. The reason I had a large email list, a radio show with 150,000 listeners in New York, and a TV show in Australia with an audience of up to 1 million people is that many of these famous and successful high achievers all wanted a broader audience. I created what they wanted for them. They could communicate their message to more people. In return, I got what I wanted. If you don't have a list, create one by being the middleman. Become the bridge between a star with valuable information who wants an audience and an audience who wants valuable information from a star. Number 5, I took control. Many people are unconscious to their true potential. Many people give up too easily. They put themselves out there once or twice in life, in business, or on the dating scene. And when that doesn't succeed, they tell themselves some BS like, obviously success, being rich, owning a business, dating my soulmate just isn't for me. I'll have to settle for mediocrity, poverty, a crappy job, and an average partner. Some people tell themselves similar BS, but they put a more spiritual slant on it in an effort to make it sound more credible or unassailable. My business, life mission, dream partner didn't drop out of the sky into my lap when I was meditating. It just wasn't meant to be. People try this airy-fairy spiritual BS so that people can't argue with them or offer them advice. When you say it wasn't meant to be, nobody says, why don't you give it another try? They just tend to sigh sagely and say, yes. This fluffy, new age BS spirituality made popular in The Secret seemed to tell you that you could just meditate for an hour and $1 million would fall into your lap. You could practice your affirmations over your gluten-free porridge every day for a week and your life would transform into pure bliss and Oprah Club book deals. If it didn't work, then you can simply say, it wasn't meant to be. Warning, if you say it wasn't meant to be anywhere in my vicinity, I will most likely punch you in your overly pretentious, egotistical, spiritually bankrupt, self-righteous gonads. It is important to meditate, absolutely. Have your affirmations, have your incantations, grab some tie-dyed yoga pants, but then you have to take some action. Take action towards your dreams again and again and again and again and again and again. You don't get spiritual by sitting on your humanness or by sitting on your human ass. Spirit moves. Every day you see the egoless form of an eminently more spiritual nature persisting and trying again. The tree branch cracks or is cut off and a new bud grows just above the wound. You can cut some fresh flowers for the garden and their friends don't sit around and say, screw that for a joke, every time we blossom somebody cuts our heads off. That's it, don't nobody blossom no more. Flowers don't do that. Nature is purely spiritual, it is not petty. A sidewalk gets paved or a highway is laid down, killing all life beneath it. Yet a few weeks or a few months pass and you'll find fresh green shoots of tiny grass pushing their heads up through and cracking the mighty road. They don't overcome with force, but with unstoppable persistence. Animals who are culled to the point of extinction do not give up and say, maybe pandas or whales or rhinos just weren't meant to be. They don't lay down and die. They get busy, they eat, they shag, they survive, and they thrive. And if you don't quit, you may just well shag and well survive as well. Number 6, I took time to share. Sharing is caring. Sharing or giving shows to yourself and to the universe around you that you have more than enough. You have an abundance. Nature is extravagant, even wasteful. Each man has enough sperm to birth an entire army. Each woman has enough eggs to create a city. Each tree has hundreds of fruits with thousands of seeds, far more than is required for the mere survival of the species into the next generation. You are part of nature, you are part of spirit, and you have more than enough. Whatever you have, wherever you are, whoever you are, you have something which you can share or give. Donate a few dollars to someone less fortunate, give away some free time to a charity, or visit someone in hospital. Volunteer a few hours in aged care, plant a tree, pat a dog, give your favourite coffee or soft drink to a random stranger and drink water instead. That water will be better for you and it will taste so sweet. Offer a ride to someone who looks like they need it. Teach someone a game that you know how to play. Have a conversation with a foreigner and help them to practice their English. Share an uplifting blog or a Facebook post or something else on social media, something inspirational. You can do it. First, stop believing the BS that you can't do it or that it wasn't meant to be. Then step up, have a go, have another go, and another go, and another go, and another, and another, and another, and another go, until you succeed or until you learn something extremely valuable. The same God, goddess, universe, nature, source, or force that put that dream inside of your heart is the same force that has given you the means to attain it. Whatever that force is, number one, it's benevolent, and number two, it's not stupid. A loving source would not give you a dream that you could never achieve. That would be either really cruel or really stupid. Love will test you, but it will not try to make you fail. Only your own fears can do that. Get out of your head, get out of your fears and doubts and rationality, and get into your heart, your love, your courage, even your unreasonableness. Take action, take initiative, take risks, take qualified advice, take steps, take something. This video is my gift to you. Question is, what is your gift to the world?